It's remarkable to me what communities do now in the face of stuff like this. If you saw a kid acting like that back in the 50s or back in the early 60s, alarms would have gone off all over the place. This is not a well person. This is somebody who needs help. This is somebody who may need to be institutionalized. And now today we seem to be so afraid. We seem to be so afraid to do anything to address any kid who's acting different, because maybe that's just who he is. Maybe he's just expressing himself. There is a trait in humans that makes us super, and in animals too, that makes us super distrustful of things that are not like other things. So we're used to people behaving in a certain way. And when you see someone behaving in a very different way, that gets your attention really quickly. And the reason it gets your attention is because on a subconscious level, you realize, hold on, this person might be going through life with a very different set of rules than I am going through life with. And if he has a different set of rules, I may not be able to predict what he's going to do. But we have gotten this over the last 30, 40 years. We've gotten this tolerance talk beaten into us. And the idea is that when people act different, you should just embrace that. And that's wonderful. And that's them expressing themselves. And to an extent, maybe that's true. But there is also a reason that alarm bells go off in your head when you see somebody behaving really differently from what you're used to. And it's because they may be playing a different game than you are playing. And life is pretty fragile. And humans are capable of inflicting a lot of damage on each other. Look at this kid in that 4th grade classroom. People should have been looking at this guy and thinking, okay, there is something very wrong here. I mean, you remember Columbine and the trench coat mafia. Who could hear trench coat mafia and not think, why was somebody not watching these kids and dealing with it? I mean, they show signs.
Yes.
There are... I'm trying to think of any case where this has happened where everyone involved just seemed completely surprised.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe there are some, but it certainly seems like an enormous amount of the time people are saying, yeah, something wasn't right with this guy. Something seemed a little bit different. Something was off about him recently. But we've got this idea that you have to be tolerant of everything, and it's not your business how anyone else lives their lives. And that is completely true until that person starts hurting other people.
Yeah. There's a much larger issue here, and the left doesn't seem to want to address it. Biden was on TV last night screaming at Americans like you and I, and many of you watching, we're gun owners, saying that we're just paid off by the gun lobby. We're evil.
Yeah, I've never gotten a check from them, by the way.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so we're paid off by the gun lobby. They're missing the fact that Western society now embraces mental illness. They embrace
yes, and the nihilism that leads to it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you have this idea that men can be pregnant. You have the rise in transgenderism, and all of that is embraced, and you're not allowed to talk about these issues. So is it any surprise then, like you were talking about earlier, that we see people like, and I'm not saying like the left is fully responsible for this, but this idea that everyone's just allowed to be whatever they want and think and do whatever they want actually leads to things like this. And when life is totally meaning,less, evil brews, and you see events like this, and there's something in common. And there's a lot of that. You see a big trend. These shooters, they're young men. We're failing young men in America. Look at fatherlessness. You can't tell me that doesn't contribute to this. This kid, he was being raised by his grandparents. His family structure was gone, and there's no one that can tell me that didn't have an impact on what led him to do what he did.
Yeah, James Dobson with Focus on the Family has said, he's I think clinical psychologist. He has said that children, both male and female children, they learn a lot about the world from their mothers, but they tend to get their moral compass interestingly, from their father, not from their mother. And so imagine the scenarios where you don't have men with a good moral compass in the home, let alone just men in general. Then what happens? They have to develop their own, and often it errs.